Alright, are you ready to go to Earth? Let's do it. Alright. Chapter 16. The seventh planet, then, was the Earth. The Earth is not just another planet. It contains 111 kings, including, of course, the African kings, 7,000 geographers, 900,000 businessmen, 7.5 million drunkards, 311 million vain men, in other words, about 2 billion grown-ups. To give you a notion of the Earth's dimensions, I can tell you that before the invention of electricity, it was necessary to maintain over the whole of 6 continents a veritable army of 462,511 lamplighters. Seen from some distance, this made a splendid effect. The movements of the army were ordered like those of ballet. First came the turn of the lamplighters of New Zealand and Australia. Then these, having lit their street lamps, would go home to sleep. Next it would be the turn of the lamplighters of China and Siberia to perform their steps in the lamplighters' ballet, and then they too would vanish into the wings. Then came the turn of the lamplighters of Russia and India, then those of Africa and Europe, then those of South America and of North America, and they never missed their cues for their appearances on stage. It was awe-inspiring. Only the lamplighter of a single street lamp at the North Pole and his colleague of the single street lamp at the South Pole led carefree, idle lives. They worked twice a year. Chapter 17. Trying to be witty leads to lying, more or less. What I just told you about the lamplighters isn't completely true, and I risk giving a false idea of our planet to those who don't know it. Men occupy very little space on Earth. If the 2 billion inhabitants of the globe were to stand close together, as they might for some big public event, then they would easily fit into a city block that was 20 miles long and 20 miles wide. You could crowd all humanity onto the smallest Pacific islet. Grown-ups, of course, won't believe you. They're convinced they take up much more room. They consider themselves as important as the Baobabs. But you should advise them to make their own calculations. They love numbers and they'll enjoy it. But don't waste your time on this extra task. It's unnecessary, trust me. So once he reached Earth, the little prince was quite surprised not to see anyone. He was beginning to fear he had come to the wrong planet, when a moon-colored loop uncoiled on the sand. "Good evening," the little prince said, just in case. "Good evening," said the snake. "What planet have I landed on?" asked the little prince. "On the planet Earth, in Africa," the snake replied. "Ah! And are there no people on Earth?" "It's the desert here. There are no people in the desert. Earth is very big," said the snake. The little prince sat down on a rock and looked up into the sky. "I wonder," he said, "if the stars are lit up so that each of us can find his own some day. Look at my planet. It's just overhead, but so far away." "It's lovely," the snake said. "What have you come to Earth for?" "I'm having difficulties with a flower," the little prince said. "Ah," said the snake, and they were both silent. "Where are the people?" the little prince finally resumed the conversation. "It's a little lonely in the desert." "It's also lonely with people," said the snake. The little prince looked at the snake for a long time. "You're a funny creature," he said at last, "no thicker than a finger." "But I'm more powerful than a king's finger," the snake said. The little prince smiled. "You're not very powerful. You don't even have feet. You couldn't travel very far." "I can take you further than a ship," the snake said. He coiled around the little prince's ankle like a golden bracelet. "Anyone I touch, I send back to the land from which he came," the snake went on. "But you're innocent, and you come from a star." The little prince made no reply. "I feel sorry for you, being so weak on this granite Earth," said the snake. "I can help you someday, if you grow too homesick for your planet. "Oh, I understand just what you mean," said the little prince. "But why do you always speak in riddles?" "I solve them all," said the snake, and they were both silent. The snake. Chapter 18. The little prince crossed the desert and encountered only one flower, A flower with 3 petals, a flower of no consequence. Good morning, said the little prince. Good morning, said the flower. Where are the people? The little prince inquired politely. The flower had one day seen a caravan passing. People? There are 6 or 7 of them, I believe, in existence. I caught sight of them years ago, but you never know where to find them. The wind blows them away. They have no roots, which hampers them a good deal. Goodbye, said the little prince. Goodbye, said the flower. Chapter 19. The little prince climbed a high mountain. The only mountains he had ever known were the 3 volcanoes, which came up to his knee, and he used the extinct volcano as a footstool. From a mountain as high as this one, he said to himself, I'll get a view of the whole planet and all the people on it. Then he saw nothing but rocky peaks as sharp as needles. Hello, he said, just in case. Hello, 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 the echo answered. Who are you? Asked the little prince. Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? The echo answered. Let's be friends. I'm lonely, he said. I'm lonely, I'm lonely, I'm lonely, the echo answered. What a peculiar planet, he thought. It's all dry and sharp and hard, and people have no imagination. They repeat whatever you say to them. Where I live, I had a flower. She always spoke first. Chapter 20. But it so happened that the little prince, having walked a long time through sand and rocks and snow, finally discovered a road, and all roads go to where there are people. Good morning, he said. It was a blossoming rose garden. Good morning, said the roses. The little prince gazed at them. All of them looked like his flower. Who are you? He asked, astounded. We're roses, the roses said. Ah, said the little prince, and he felt very unhappy. His flower had told him she was the only one of her kind in the whole universe, and here were 5,000 of them, all just alike, in just one garden. She would be very annoyed, he said to himself, as she saw this. She would cough terribly, pretend to be dying to avoid being laughed at, and I'd have to pretend to be nursing her. Otherwise, she really let herself die in order to humiliate me. And then he said to himself, I thought I was rich because I had just one flower, and all I own is an ordinary rose. That and my 3 volcanoes, which come up to my knee, one of which may be permanently extinct. It doesn't make me much of a prince. And he lay down in the grass and wept. There's him with the roses. Chapter 21. It was then the fox appeared. Good morning, said the fox. Good morning, the little prince answered politely, though when he turned around he saw nothing. I'm here, the voice said, under the apple tree. Who are you? The little prince asked. You're very pretty. I'm a fox, the fox said. Come and play with me, the little prince proposed. I'm feeling so sad. I can't play with you, the fox said. I'm not tamed. Ah, excuse me, said the little prince, but upon reflection he added, What does tamed mean? You're not from around here, the fox said. What are you looking for? I'm looking for people, said the little prince. What does tamed mean? People, said the fox, have guns and they hunt. It's quite troublesome, and they also raise chickens. That's the only interesting thing about them. Are you looking for chickens? No, said the little prince. I'm looking for friends. What does tamed mean? It's something that's been too often neglected. It means to create ties. To create ties? That's right, the fox said. For me, you're only a little boy, just like 100,000 other little boys. And I have no need for you. And you have no need for me either. For you, I'm only a fox like 100,000 other foxes. But if you tame me, we'll need each other. You'll be the only boy in the world for me. I'll be the only fox in the world for you. I'm beginning to understand, the little prince said. There's a flower. I think she's tamed me. Possibly, the fox said. On Earth, one sees all kinds of things. Oh, this isn't on Earth, the little prince said. The fox seemed quite intrigued. On another planet? Yes. Are there hunters on that planet? No. Now that's interesting. And chickens? No. Nothing's perfect, sighed the fox, but he returned to his idea. My life is monotonous. I hunt chickens. People hunt me. All chickens are just alike, and all men are just alike. So I'm rather bored. if you tame me, my life will be filled with sunshine. I'll know the sound of footsteps that will be different from all the rest. Other footsteps send me back underground. Yours will call me out of my burrow like music. And then, look, you see the wheat fields over there? I don't eat bread. For me, wheat is of no use whatsoever. Wheat fields say nothing to me, which is sad. But you have hair like the color of gold. So it will be wonderful once you've tamed me. The wheat, which is golden, will remind me of you, and I'll love the sound of the wind in the wheat. The fox fell silent and stared at the little prince for a long while. Please, tame me, he said. I'd like to, the little prince replied, but I haven't much time. I have friends to find and so many things to learn. The only things you learn are the things you tame, said the fox. People haven't time to learn anything. They buy things ready-made in stores. But since there are no stores where you can buy friends, people no longer have friends. If you want a friend, tame me. What do I have to do? Asked the little prince. You have to be very patient, the fox answered. First, you'll sit down a little ways away from me, over there in the grass. I'll watch you out of the corner of my eye, and you won't say anything. Language is the source of misunderstandings. But day and day, you'll be able to sit a little closer. The next day, the little prince returned. It would have been better to return at the same time, the fox said. For instance, if you come at 4 in the afternoon, I'll begin to be happy by 3. The closer it gets to 4, the happier I'll feel. By 4, I'll be all excited and worried. I'll discover what it costs to be happy. But if you come at any old time, I'll never know when I should prepare my heart. There must be rites. What's a rite? Asked the little prince. That's another thing that's been too often neglected, said the fox. It's the fact that one day is different from the other days, 1 hour from the other hours. My hunters, for example, have a rite. They dance with the village girls on Thursdays. So Thursday's a wonderful day. I can take a stroll all the way to the vineyards. If the hunters danced whenever they chose, the days would all be just alike, and I'd have no holiday at all. That was how the little prince tamed the fox. And when the time to leave was near, "Ah," the fox said, "I shall weep." "It's your own fault," the little prince said. "I never wanted to do you any harm, but you insisted that I tame you." "Yes, of course," the fox said. "But you're going to weep," said the little prince. "Yes, of course," the fox said. "Then you get nothing out of it?" "I get something," the fox said, "because of the color of the wheat." Then he added, "Go look at the roses. Again, you'll understand that yours is the only rose in all the world. Then come back to say goodbye, and I'll make you the gift of a secret." The little prince went to look at the roses again. "You're not at all like my rose. You're nothing at all yet," he told them. "No one has tamed you, and you haven't tamed anyone. You're the way my fox was. He was just a fox like 100,000 others, but I made him my friend, and now he's the only fox in all the world." And the roses were humbled. "You're lovely, but you're empty," he went on. "One couldn't die for you. Of course, an ordinary passerby would think my rose looked just like you. But my rose, all on her own, is more important than all of you together, since she's the one I've watered. Since she's the one I put under glass. Since she's the one I sheltered behind a screen. Since she's the one for whom I killed the caterpillars, except the 2 or 3 for butterflies. Since she's the one I listened to when she complained, or when she boasted, or even sometimes when she said nothing at all. Since she's my rose." And he went back to the fox. "Goodbye," he said. "Goodbye," said the fox. "Here is my secret. It's quite simple. One sees clearly only with the heart. Anything essential is invisible to the eyes." And here's the fox, his little burrow. "Anything essential is invisible to the eyes," the little prince repeated, in order to remember. "It's the time you spent on your rose that makes your rose so important. It's the time I spent on my rose," the little prince repeated, in order to remember. "People have forgotten this truth," the fox said, "but you mustn't forget it. You become responsible forever for what you've tamed. You're responsible for your rose. I'm responsible for my rose," the little prince repeated, in order to remember. Chapter 22. "Good morning," said the little prince. "Good morning," said the railway switchman. "What is it that you have to do here?" "What is it that you do here?" asked the little prince. I sort the travelers into bundles of 1,000, the switchman replied. I dispatch the trains that carry them, sometimes to the right, sometimes to the left. And a brightly lit express train, roaring like thunder, shook the switchman's cabin. What a hurry they're in, said the little prince. What are they looking for? Not even the engineer on the locomotive knows, the switchman said. Another brightly lit express train thundered by in the opposite direction. Are they coming back already? Asked the little prince. It's not the same ones, the switchman said. It's an exchange. They weren't satisfied where they were? Asked the little prince. No one is ever satisfied where he is, the switchman said. And a third brightly lit express train thundered past. Are they chasing the first travelers? Asked the little prince. They're not chasing anything, the switchman said. They're sleeping in there, or else they're yawning. Only the children are pressing their noses against the window panes. Only the children know what they're looking for, said the little prince. They spend their time on a rag doll, and it becomes very important. If it's taken away from them, they cry. They're lucky, the switchman said. Chapter 23. Good morning, said the little prince. Good morning, said the sales clerk. This is a sales clerk who sold pills invented to quench thirst. Swallow one a week, and you no longer feel any need to drink. Why do you sell these pills? They save so much time, the sales clerk said. Experts have calculated that you can save 53 minutes a week. And what do you do with those 53 minutes? Whatever you like. If I had 53 minutes to spend as I liked, the little prince said to himself, I'd walk very slowly toward a water fountain. Chapter 24. It was now the 8th day since my crash landing in the desert, and I'd listened to the story about the sales clerk as I was drinking the last drop of my water supply. Ah, I said to the little prince, your memories are very pleasant, but I haven't yet repaired my plane. I have nothing left to drink, and I, too, would be glad to walk very slowly toward a water fountain. My friend the fox told me, Little fellow, this has nothing to do with the fox. Why? Because we're going to die of thirst. The little prince didn't follow my reasoning and answered me, It's good to have had a friend, even if you're going to die. Myself, I'm very glad to have had a fox for a friend. He doesn't realize the danger, I said to myself. He's never hungry or thirsty. A little sunlight is enough for him. But the little prince looked at me and answered my thought. I'm thirsty too. Let's find a well. I made an exasperated gesture. It is absurd looking for a well at random in the vastness of the desert. But even so, we started walking. When we had walked for several hours in silence, night fell and stars began to appear. I noticed them as in a dream, being somewhat feverish on account of my thirst. The little prince's words danced in my memory. So you're thirsty too? I asked. But he didn't answer my question. He merely said to me, water can also be good for the heart. I didn't understand his answer, but I said nothing. I knew by this time that it was no use for questioning him. He was tired. He sat down. I sat down next to him. And after a silence, he spoke again. The stars are beautiful because of a flower you don't see. I answered, yes, of course. And without speaking another word, I stared at the ridges of sand in the moonlight. The desert is beautiful, the little prince added. And it was true. I've always loved the desert. You sit down on a sand dune, you see nothing, you hear nothing, and yet something shines, something sings in that silence. What makes the desert beautiful, the little prince said, is that it hides a well somewhere. I was surprised by suddenly understanding that mysterious radiance of the sands. When I was a little boy, I lived in an old house, and there was a legend that a treasure was buried in it somewhere. Of course, no one was ever able to find the treasure. Perhaps no one even searched. But it cast a spell over that whole house. My house hid a secret in the depths of its heart. Yes, I said to the little prince, whether it's a house or the stars or the desert, what makes them beautiful is invisible. I'm glad, he said, you agree with my fox. As the little prince was falling asleep, I picked him up in my arms and started walking again. I was moved. It was as if I was carrying a fragile treasure. It actually seemed to me there was nothing more fragile on earth. By the light of the moon, I gazed at that pale forehead, those closed eyes, those locks of hair trembling in the wind, and I said to myself, what I'm looking at is only a shell. What's most important is invisible. As his lips parted in a half smile, I said to myself again, What moves me so deeply about this sleeping little prince is his loyalty to a flower, the image of a rose shining within him like the flame within a lamp, even when he's asleep. And I realized he was even more fragile than I had thought. Lamps must be protected. A gust of wind can blow them out. And walking on like that, I found the well at daybreak. Chapter 25. The little prince said, "People start out in express trains, but they no longer know what they're looking for. Then they get all excited and rush around in circles." And he added, "It's not worth the trouble." The well we had come to was not at all like the wells of the Sahara. The wells of the Sahara are no more than holes dug in the sand. This one looked more like a village well, but there was no village here, and I thought I was dreaming. "It's strange," I said to the little prince. "Everything is ready. The pulley, the bucket, and the rope." He laughed, grasped the rope, and set the pulley working, and the pulley groaned the way an old weather vane groans when the wind has been asleep for a long time. "Hear that?" said the little prince. "We've awakened this well, and it's singing." I didn't want him to tire himself out. "Let me do that," I said to him. "It's too heavy for you." There's the Slowly, I hoisted the bucket to the edge of the well. I set it down with great care. The song of the pulley continued in my ears, and I saw the sun glisten on the still trembling water. "I'm thirsty for that water," said the little prince. "Let me drink some." And I understood what he had been looking for. I raised the bucket to his lips. He drank, eyes closed. It was as sweet as a feast. That water was more than merely a drink. It was born of our walk beneath the stars, of the song of the pulley, of the effort of my arms. It did the heart good, like a present. When I was a little boy, the Christmas tree lights, the music of midnight mass, the tenderness of people's smiles made up, in the same way, the whole radiance of the Christmas present I received. "People where you live," the little prince said, "grow 5,000 roses in one garden, yet they don't find what they're looking for." "They don't find it," I answered. "And yet what they're looking for can be found in a single rose or a little water." "Of course," I answered. And the little prince added, "But eyes are blind. You have to look with the heart." I had drunk the water. I could breathe easy now. The sand at daybreak is honey-colored, and that color was making me happy too. Why then did I also feel so sad? "You must keep your promise," said the little prince, sitting up again beside me. "What promise?" "You know, a muzzle for my sheep. I'm responsible for this flower." I took my drawings out of my pocket. The little prince glanced at them and laughed as he said, "Your baobabs look more like cabbages." Oh, I had been so proud of the baobabs. "Your fox, his ears look more like horns, and they're too long." And he laughed again. "You're being unfair, my little prince," I said. "I never knew how to draw anything but boas from the inside and bows from the outside." "Oh, that'll be all right," he said. "Children understand." So then I drew a muzzle, and with a heavy heart I handed it to him. "You made plans I don't know about." But he didn't answer. He said, "You know, my fall to earth, tomorrow will be the first anniversary." Then, after a silence, he continued, I landed very near here," and he blushed. And once again, without understanding why, I felt a strange grief. However, a question occurred to me. "Then it wasn't by accident that on the morning I met you, 8 days ago, you were walking that way, all alone, 1,000 miles from any inhabited region? Were you returning to the place where you fell to earth?" The little prince blushed again, and I added, hesitantly, "Perhaps on account of the anniversary?" The little prince blushed once more. He never answered questions, but when someone blushes, doesn't that mean yes? "Ah," I said to the little prince, "I'm afraid." But he answered, "You must get to work now. You must get back to your engine. I'll wait here. Come back tomorrow night." But I wasn't reassured. I remembered the fox. You risk tears if you let yourself be tamed. Chapter 26. Beside the well, there was a ruin, an old stone wall. When I came back from my work the next evening, I caught sight of my little prince from a distance. He was sitting on top of the wall, legs dangling, and I heard him talking. "Don't you remember?" he was saying. "This isn't exactly the place." Another voice must have answered him then, for he replied, "Oh yes, it's the right day, but this isn't the right place." I continued walking toward the wall. I still could neither see nor hear anyone, yet the little prince answered again, "Of course, you'll see where my tracks begin on the sand. Just wait for me there. I'll be there tonight." I was 20 yards from the wall and still saw no one, and the little prince said after a silence, "Your poison is good? You're sure it won't make me suffer long?" I stopped short, my heart pounding, but I still didn't understand. "Now go away," the little prince said. "I want to get down from here." Then I looked down at the foot of the wall and gave a great start. There, coiled in front of the little prince, was one of those yellow snakes that can kill you in 30 seconds. As I dug into my pocket for my revolver, I stepped back, but at the noise I made, the snake flowed over the sand like a trickling fountain, and without even hurrying, slipped away between the stones with a faint metallic sound. I reached the wall just in time to catch my little prince in my arms, his face white as snow. "What's going on here? You're talking to snakes now?" I had loosened the yellow scarf he always wore. I had moistened his temples and made him drink some water. And now I didn't dare ask him anything more. He gazed at me with a serious expression and put his arms around my neck. I felt his heart beating like a dying bird's when it's been shot. He said to me, "I'm glad you found what was the matter with your engine. Now you'll be able to fly again." "How did you know?" I was just coming to tell him that I had been successful beyond all hope. He didn't answer my question. All he said was, "I'm leaving today too." And then sadly, "It's much further. It's much more difficult." I realized that something extraordinary was happening. I was holding him out in my arms like a little child, yet it seemed to me that he was dropping headlong into an abyss, and I could do nothing to hold him back. His expression was very serious now, lost and remote. "I have your sheep, and I have the crate for it, and the muzzle," and he smiled sadly. I waited a long time. I could feel that he was reviving a little. "Little fellow, you were frightened." Of course he was frightened. But he laughed a little. "I'll be much more frightened tonight." Once again I felt chilled by the sense of something irreparable. And I realized I couldn't bear the thought of never hearing that laugh again. For me, it was like a spring of fresh water in the desert. "Little fellow, I want to hear you laugh again." But he said to me, "Tonight it'll be a year. My star will be just above the place where I fell last year." "Little fellow, it's a bad dream, isn't it? All this conversation with the snake and the meeting place and the star." But he didn't answer my question. All he said was, "The important thing is what can't be seen." Of course. It's the same as for the flower. If you love a flower that lives on a star, then it's good, at night, to look up at the sky. All the stars are blossoming. Of course. It's the same for the flower. It's the same for the water. The water you gave me to drink was like music on account of the pulley and the rope. You remember. It was good. Of course. At night, you'll look up at the stars. It's too small where I live for me to show you where my star is. It's better that way. My star will be one of the stars for you. So you'll like looking at all of them. They'll all be your friends. And besides, I have a present for you." He laughed again. "Ah, little fellow, I love hearing that laugh. That'll be my present, just that. It'll be the same as for the water." "What do you mean?" "People have stars, but they aren't the same. For travelers, the stars are guides. For other people, they're nothing but tiny lights. And for still others, for scholars, they're problems. For my businessman, they were gold. But all those stars are silent stars. You, though, you'll have stars like nobody else." "What do you mean?" "When you look up at the sky at night, since I'll be living on one of them, since I'll be laughing on one of them for you, it'll be as if all the stars are laughing. You'll have stars that can laugh." And he laughed again. "And when you're consoled, everyone eventually is consoled, you'll be glad you've known me. You'll always be my friend. You'll feel like laughing with me, and you'll open your windows sometimes, just for the fun of it. And your friends will be amazed to see you laughing while you're looking up at the sky. Then you'll tell them, 'Yes, it's the stars. They always make me laugh.' And they'll think you're crazy. It'll be a nasty trick I played on you." And he laughed again. "And it'll be as if I had given you, instead of stars, a lot of tiny bills that know how to laugh." And he laughed again. Then he grew serious once more. "Tonight, don't come. I won't leave you. It'll look as if I'm suffering. It'll look a little as if I'm dying. It'll look that way. Don't come to see that. It's not worth the trouble. I won't leave you." But he was anxious. "I'm telling you this on account of the snake. He mustn't bite you. Snakes are nasty sometimes. They bite just for fun. I won't leave you." But something reassured him. It's true they don't have enough poison for a second bite. That night I didn't see him leave. He got away without making a sound. When I managed to catch up with him, he was walking fast with determination. All he said was, "Ah, you're here," and he took my hand. But he was still anxious. "You were wrong to come. You'll suffer. I'll look as if I'm dead, and that won't be true." I said nothing. "You understand. It's too far. I can't take this body with me. It's too heavy." I said nothing. "But it'll be like an old abandoned shell. There's nothing sad about an old shell." I said nothing. He was a little disheartened now, but he made one more effort. "It'll be nice, I'll be looking at the stars, too. All the stars will be wells with a rusty pulley. All the stars will pour out water for me to drink." I said nothing. "And it'll be fun. You'll have 500 million little bells. I'll have 500 million springs of fresh water." And he too said nothing because he was weeping. "Here's the place. Let me go on alone." And he sat down because he was frightened. Then he said, "My flower, I'm responsible for her, and she's so weak and so naive. She has 4 ridiculous thorns to defend herself against the world." I sat down too because I was unable to stand any longer. He said, "There, that's all." He hesitated a little longer, then he stood up. He took a step. I couldn't move. There had been nothing but a yellow flash close to his ankle. He remained motionless for an instant. He didn't cry out. He fell gently the way a tree falls. There wasn't even a sound because of the sand. Chapter 27. And now, of course, it's been 6 years already. I've never told this story before. The friends who saw me again were very glad to see me alive. I was sad, but I told them it's fatigue. Now I'm somewhat consoled. That is, not entirely. But I know he did get back to his planet because at daybreak I didn't find his body. It wasn't such a heavy body, and at night I love listening to the stars. It's like 500 million little bells. But something extraordinary has happened. When I drew that muzzle for the little prince, I forgot to put in the leather strap. He could never have fastened it on his sheep. And then I wonder what happened there on his planet. Maybe the sheep has eaten his flower. Sometimes I tell myself, of course not. The little prince puts his flower under glass, and he keeps close watch over his sheep. Then I'm happy, and all the stars laugh sweetly. Sometimes I tell myself, anyone might be distracted once in a while, and that's all it takes. One night he forgot to put her under glass, or else the sheep got out without making any noise during the night. Then the bells all changed into tears. It's all a great mystery, for you who love the little prince too. As for me, nothing in the universe can be the same if somewhere, no one knows where, a sheep we never saw has or has not eaten a rose. Look up at the sky. Ask yourself, has the sheep eaten the flower or not? And you'll see how everything changes. And no grown-ups will ever understand how such a thing could be so important. For me, this is the loveliest and the saddest landscape in the world. It's the same landscape as the one on the preceding page, but I've drawn it one more time in order to be sure you see it clearly. It's here that the little prince appeared on Earth, then disappeared. Look at this landscape carefully to be sure of recognizing it if you should travel to Africa someday in the desert. And if you happen to pass by here, I beg you not to hurry past. Wait a little just under the star. Then if a child comes to you, if he laughs, if he has golden hair, if he doesn't answer your questions, you'll realize who he is. If this should happen, be kind. Don't let me go on being so sad. Send word immediately that he's come back. And that is The Little Prince. Thank you for listening. I hope all of it resonated with you. And have a very good night.